What's up, Taiwan? I'm Brossard with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. President Lai Ching-te's new Civil Defense Committee has met for the first time in Taipei. The initiative brings together representatives from government, academia, and the private sector to map out how Taiwan could prepare for any kind of disaster. Reese Ayers has more on what was on the agenda for the Thursday meeting.
The first meeting of President Lai Ching-te's new Civil Defense Committee has taken place in Taipei, bringing together public and private sector resources to make sure Taiwan has the best chance at responding to any natural or man-made disasters. In his opening remarks, Lai said he wants to continue his predecessor Tsai Ing-wen's legacy. She started by taking stock of the country's resources. He said now it's time to focus on verifying those resources and implementing them in case of disaster. He made three main points during his introductory speech, saying Taiwan needs to be prepared, particularly during peacetime. He said that Taiwan should strengthen its response mechanisms with confidence and that any plans should be rolled out step by step and in a controlled manner. Now, Taiwan's civil defense includes training civilians in disaster response, making sure that energy and critical infrastructure is sound, making sure that medical care and evacuation procedures are in place, securing communication networks and transport and financial networks, all to the goal of building a stronger and more robust democratic society and safeguarding national security. And all this in the face of natural disasters. Taiwan is extremely prone to earthquakes and typhoons, and of course, an aggressive neighbor. China claims Taiwan is part of its own territory and hasn't ruled out taking the country by force if necessary. Lai plans to achieve all of this, he says, by bringing a wide range of players from across society to the table.
全社会防卫韧性的工作内容涉及的面向非常多元复杂，因此委员会的组成必须公私协力，并且以实务经验为导向，秉持专业、跨领域、年龄跨世代、兼顾性别平衡的原则。
Now, there's a diverse group from across the private sector, government and academia, including Taiwan's Vice President Bi Kim-hsiao, government officials from different ministries, including the Defense, Economic, Transportation, Agriculture and Health ministries, religious groups, including Taiwan's Presbyterian Church, who have offered up their churches across Taiwan as places where civil defense training workshops could take place. There are civil defense groups, including the Kuma Academy and Forward Alliance, and also representatives from Taiwan's communication and tech spheres, including the managing director from Google. As President Lai Ching-te said back in June when he announced the formation of the committee, and he also reiterated again today, anything that happens to Taiwan could send ripples through the entire globe. Therefore, Taiwan's issues are international issues, and international issues are Taiwan's. And Lai could be right with Taiwan playing an oversized role in global chip production and being a free and open democracy in Asia. It could be in the rest of the world's interest to make sure that Taiwan remains a free, safe, and fully functional country. Eason Pan, Kamashu, and Reese Ayers in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A court in Hong Kong has sentenced two former editors of the pro-democracy media outlet Stand News. The court found Chung Pui-kun and Patrick Lam guilty of sedition last month. The judge has now sentenced Chung to 1 year and 9 months in prison. Lam was handed a reduced sentence and released on health grounds, as he has already served 14 months in jail. Rights groups say the sentencing is the latest attack on journalism in Hong Kong, a territory with dwindling press freedoms. China's ICBM launch Wednesday has had very different reactions from the US and Japan. Washington showed approval towards Beijing's decision to give it an early warning. The Pentagon says it hopes such warnings will become a regular feature of bilateral ties. But as China-US ties show signs of warming with the restoration of military dialogue, China's ties with Japan remain sour. Tokyo says it was not warned of the launch, and Japan's chief cabinet secretary says China's lack of military transparency is concerning. China's rare intercontinental ballistic missile test on Wednesday was the first in nearly 4 decades. The missile flew toward the Pacific Ocean carrying a dummy warhead, and Beijing has now released images of the test. To learn more about why China carried out this test now, our reporter Adil Brar spoke to Binghui Chen, a professor at National Zhengzhou University in Taipei.
What's the significance of China's intercontinental ballistic missile test, and what was China hoping to achieve?
I think this test is about showing the capability. So the significance of it is that China hasn't tested long-range missile for a very long time. So the timing of the test is very important. Apparently, China is going to send a diplomatic signal to the United States and its allies.
Which ballistic missile did China use for the test, and what does that tell us about Beijing's nuclear posture?
As far as we know, the missile being tested in this test is DF-41, which is the latest intercontinental ballistic missile by China. It has a range between 12,000 to 15,000 kilometers, which means this long-range intercontinental ballistic missile can reach the mainland of the United States from China. And I think this is the important point about this test. It's a show of force that the U.S. Homeland will be within the attacking range of the PLA.
Is China sending a message to the U.S. with the missile test?
I do think that it raised the alarms of the U.S. and its allies that China now has the competence and the capability to fulfill its own interest. To those countries, I think this works as an intimidation to many their disputes with China. For example, the dispute in East China Sea and South China Sea. This will have implication about how the U.S. and its allies to operate in those disputed areas.
Pentagon says that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear weapons arsenal, including the construction of large number of missile silos. How will U.S. and its allies respond to the latest missile test?
Pentagon has already known that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal. And the Pentagon has already put out plans to respond to such expansion. We know that even though China is changing its nuclear arsenal, it still does not match the US's. The problem is, during the Cold War, both superpowers have greater, larger nuclear arsenal, and it has been decreased since the end of the Cold War. So we may see another round of nuclear competition, but at the same time, I think this time the competition about nuclear technology, nuclear weapon, is that they will compete for the quality of a nuclear weapon instead of the quantity of a nuclear weapon. I think from this test, we just confirmed the information that we already knew. We knew that China has this capability.
That was Binghui Chen of National Zhengzhou University. Taipei prosecutors have released details about who they are questioning in an investigation linked to exploding pagers in Lebanon. The pagers were used by hundreds of members of the militant group Hezbollah, and they exploded last week in a deadly attack widely believed to have been carried out by Israel. Louise Watt reports.
Taipei prosecutors say they've questioned 4 people so far as witnesses in an investigation into a Taiwanese company linked to pagers that exploded in Lebanon. The 4 include Xu Qingguang, the boss of Gold Apollo, the company whose name was on the exploding pagers. He said that they licensed their name to be used by a company in Hungary, an apparent one-person outfit that was later reported as a front for Israel. Prosecutors have also questioned 1 current staffer and a former one at Gold Apollo. And the 4th person is a woman identified as Teresa Wu, who worked for another company in Taiwan that marketed the pager model that detonated. 9 days after the explosions in Lebanon, prosecutors here in Taipei say they're still looking into the Taiwan connection to this case and seeking a resolution as soon as possible. John Su and Louise Watt in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
A trial has begun in a child abuse case that sparked a national outcry earlier this year. 2 nannies stand accused of abusing a 1-year-old boy who later died in their care. Cadence Quaranta reports.
It's been over half a year since this boy, a 1-year-old named Kai Kai, died in the care of 2 nannies. And now the trial has begun. The boy was put up for adoption after his father disappeared and his mother was sent to jail. An NGO placed him in foster care with the nannies while he waited for a permanent family. But just 4 months later, in December of last year, the boy died in the hospital with severe injuries, including broken bones, fingers without nails, and a fractured skull. The nannies, who are sisters, are charged with intentionally harming a child resulting in death, but they have denied the accusations. As the trial begins, the boy's family argues his injuries speak for themselves.
说一句难听一点的，检察官他根本不需要去透露任何的资讯。为什么？当小孩子凯凯他送医院的时候，那个伤势，所有的人眼睛瞎了吗？都看得到吧？就算有人去泄露这个东西，小孩子的伤势是怎么样，那个东西是事实，并不是说是虚构的。
Family members stood outside the Taipei District Court as the trial got underway, along with activists and members of the public. The case drew national attention this spring, prompting activists to call on the government to revise Taiwan's childcare policies and the health ministry give new guidelines on foster care. Social workers protested after one of their colleagues was accused of negligence in the case, arguing social workers are often scapegoats in these kinds of scandals. In court, a defense lawyer pointed to the national outcry, accusing prosecutors of manipulating the public into deciding the nannies were guilty even before they were tried. But one activist outside the courthouse cautioned the defense to stay fair.
我觉得当一个律师，你可以为这些还没有被定罪的凶手辩护，当然觉得没问题。我也尊重人权律师，但是我觉得讲话要合情合理。
The defense is concerned about the makeup of the judge panel deciding the case. More than half of them are lay citizens not trained in law. The system was introduced earlier this year. In cases involving an intentional crime leading to death, citizen judges join a panel of 3 professional judges. But the nanny's lawyer says citizen judges are not appropriate in this case, suggesting they could be swayed by public opinion. But with court proceedings just beginning, the national scandal looks set to stay in the public eye for some time to come. Howard Chang and Cadence Quaranta for TaiwanPlus.
Animal rights groups in Taiwan say the country's animal shelters need to do more to help less common types of pets.
动保处会说不好意思，我们没有收飞猫犬这样子，就请你们自己想办法。对，这是还蛮夸张的一个现象。就所以到底我们所谓的动保处到底是在保护什么东西？
A coalition of NGOs carried out a national survey on animal care. It found that more than half of shelters won't take in birds, rodents, or other animals other than dogs and cats, while half will refuse to treat them at all. The groups say they need more support to help these pets, and the government has signaled a willingness to help.
会跟县市政府做更多的一个精进跟讨论。如果需要中央的经费的支援，各方面的话，我们都会非常全力的来协助。
A middle school math teacher from southern Taiwan has become the first transgender educator to be honored with a teaching award from the Education Ministry. Huang Mingchen was recognized for her dedication to creating a safe teaching environment over a 38-year career. She received the award from President Lai Ching-te. Huang thanked those who supported her and spoke frankly about navigating her career as a transgender woman. She said she hopes transgender teachers and students will be able to stand tall in an environment that lets them be themselves. Huang plans to retire from teaching next year. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Now finally, check out this new exhibition of French painter Claude Monet in Berlin, featuring a focus on the painter's lesser-known cityscape paintings. I'm Brossard. Take care. We'll see you next time.